My name is Cameron Foos, and I have been a professional day trader for 13 years. Welcome to the Life of a Day Trader podcast with the Fous4 Trading Team, Michael Spinoza and Robert Millar. You are going to learn the ins and outs of day trading and hear real stories from professional traders. This is the Life of a Day Trader.
Oh, you really should.
Half the time my hands are just there when I'm in position.
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the next edition of the Life of Day Trader podcast, the Fous4 squad. Got Big Mike, got Robert Millar up in here. Today is an interesting topic. There's been a little bit of a phenomena going on in the stock market industry, and it's not something that's uncommon. This is something that happens all the time. It's when a whole entire sector kind of gets overhyped, or there's a mania, or you could call it a bubble. And currently, the one in play right now is weed. So there's been a lot of different changes in policy, changes in legality of weed across the U.S. Obviously, you can have recreational weed. Vaping has been a game changer as far as like the industry. Flavor X, I know that's Mike's cup of tea. Which is also a San Diego company where I'm from. So I know the guys that run that company. And then you have interesting things going on, like Elon Musk the other day smoking reefer with Joe Rogan in the podcast, which was definitely interesting to see. If you haven't seen that podcast, possibly the greatest interview of all time. Elon Musk is the man. I think the stock dropped by like 8 or 9% after that.
It's bouncing today.
After that.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. So anyways, guys, yeah, basically that's what we're going to talk about a little bit, is kind of understanding sector movements that happen when there's kind of hype and mania, and it gets to a point where it's not even rational or rationales that are pushing stocks. It's just FOMO and trading. So Mike, why don't you kind of talk about what stocks have been moving in the weed industry, or if we want to go back and kind of give some examples of what was moving before, as we were talking about the shipping industry, Bitcoin and whatnot.
Yeah. So basically, guys, what we want to get across today is that this whole herd effect, which for me started with the shipping stocks, which was like Dries a couple of years ago. GLBS, I think, was one. And these things went completely parabolic. And I guess I can just pull up the chart.
Yeah, show Dries had freaking maybe the craziest short squeeze I've ever seen in my 14 years.
It's very skewed now because of all the reverse splits. But I mean, if I can even go back.
They split so many times.
Back in 2016. So this thing, I remember, went from like, it was like a couple bucks to 120 or something like that.
Yeah.
And now it's very skewed after all the reverse splits, and that basically igniting the whole shipping sector, which I think, yes, and a ton of others. So that happened when I kind of started trading. It was kind of nuts to see the euphoria. You didn't even know how to trade these things on a daily basis. But then I think it was artificial intelligence stocks, which was like at the HMNY. This thing went from, I think it was another couple bucks to like 40 or 50, and then they reverse split. So another basically pump and dump like scheme. And then it was crypto, which was, I guess, one of the main ones was Riot. This is another perfect example. Just exploding and just crashing, right? So now it's these weed stocks. So Tilray, I think, is kind of the leader, and it's kind of sour to look at this one right. We were, I guess the catalyst could be that October 17th is Canada legalization. So these things all started to IPO, like CGC is another one, and
it's nationwide recreational legalization, which is pretty.
In Canada, they're going nationwide. They're not like our East Coast. Yeah. You don't have it, but West Coast, you got it.
Well, yeah, Tilray's, I think they're all Canada based. So that's the catalyst. And then, I think the spark was when Citron got involved right here. This was basically when I think shorts got trapped and he got long. And then me and Fous were talking about longing this, and we did between 28 and 30. And then, selling it at 40, and then with Citron. And then, look at this thing going to basically.
Yeah, I ended up selling at 50. I bought it, I think 150 shares or something. I was going for 1,000 shares in total, but I bought it 29 thinking, okay, this is up at the previous high. Like usually when I buy at previous highs, I regret it every time. And then next thing you know, I only just nibbled 29, just 100. I still made like $3,000 off it off 100 shares, which was
incredible percentage return.
Yeah. Yeah. So from 29 to 50 was my entry in Exxon Tilray. Unfortunately, we didn't really have a chance to load up on that. But yeah, it's just crazy. And the same thing happened with not only Bitcoin stocks, but just the Bitcoin industry. I mean, it's not to say that weed stocks aren't going to, even go higher from here, but every time you see a parabolic move like this, whether it be the entire cryptocurrency market, the shipping stocks we were just talking about, weed stocks, all of these are going to come crashing down at some point in time. There is a point in time where their supply and the demand becomes so skewed that there's no more buyers left. And then it just people who had longed up near the top over the mania and the hype, because just like you said, Mike, your buddy was like talking to you the other day at like $90. Like, should I buy it now? Like, is this where I should buy it? Like,
I told him, like, you have FOMO. He's like, what does that mean? I'm like, here we go.
So that's what happens. A lot of people hear about it after the stock has already made a 300% move, and they're like, wait, I want to get on this. And by that point, it's too late. And your risk reward is completely screwed up. And that's what creates a bunch of panic selling and the huge sell-offs. The stocks usually drop much faster than they go up because so many people that are idiots buy at the top, and then they all freak out and panic sell once the hysteria comes in, and it all comes crashing down. And that's just 100% factual. And that's also why we kind of focus on shorting, and why I kind of changed my strategy to shorting from longing, because if you look at a stock that has yet to break out, you have no idea if this thing's going to break out and go up. There's literally, you've no freaking clue. You can look at a pattern prior to it happening. You have no idea. The probability is relatively low. But if you look for stocks that have just made 100 to 300 to 500% moves in a very short amount of time, there's a 100% probability there is going to be a panic sell at some point that you can take advantage of. You obviously have to be very, very careful and very, very strict with your discipline and your risk management there. But you know for a fact that at some point there is going to be a panic sell-off when you see a parabolic move. That's what a lot of people don't get. Like people that were talking to me about Bitcoin at 20,000, like it's going to 50 from here. It's like,
and that's when it was most
it's parabolic. Yeah.
Like CNBC and all the news outlets were constantly talking about it.
Yeah.
And like Ripple, like there was the sympathy plays with Bitcoin, right? There was Litecoin, Ripple, Ethereum, and all those got crushed with it as well.
Yeah. So I don't watch CNBC. Are they still hyping up some of these plays every day? Remember when they had the Bitcoin watch ticker? They literally had like all day for 2 weeks. They had the price of Bitcoin on the lower right, and it had something. It's like, and then it's not there now. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how all these end. And it's like, I remember my barber, hopefully he doesn't see this, asked me about Bitcoin. I'm like, dude, I'm just like, no. And then like, actually, even trying to explain it, I'm like, it's a cryptocurrency. He's like, so what do you do with it? I'm like, that's a good question. I don't, I can't even explain it. So it's
difficult. You can't even have a discussion with a Bitcoin fanboy either. Like they're just, I've had so many people come up and talk to me about Bitcoin, and I'm just like, listen, man, this shit's gone parabolic. Like,
it's look at a chart.
It's going to come crashing down. And they're like, no, you don't understand the future of Bitcoin. And, and it's like, I mean, I'm not predicting what's going to happen in 5 years, but I'm just saying right now, it looks like a really fucking bad idea.
And now these weed stocks are kind of getting in that same,
Yeah.
The one thing with these weed stocks that I notice, they really not quite to the Bitcoin level, but they certainly have a cult feel to it.
They definitely have that feel to it.
It's these, it's something you can kind of really get into. It's, I mean, if you're really into that, they're probably really into smoking weed too. Like it's something you can kind of get. Like oh, you see this news and all these new companies are small. They're going to blow up. Everyone's going to buy their weed. So like it's a big cash business. So it's something you can, any average person can kind of relate to, and they can just, their mind goes crazy with all kinds of
the same people that bought the crypto are the same ones buying these weed stocks.
Yeah, they're going in hard. They're getting high as fuck looking at Bitcoin and wondering why it's
damn it, I was going to do the pun first. Shit.
It's
true. It's also
high looking at Bitcoin.
Lottery winners, they want the net worth changer overnight, which usually ends badly.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Mike, being a cannabis connoisseur, I mean, even though you sold out of Tilray, are you finding yourself like researching these more than you normally would because you find a lot of interest just in the science behind weed and potentially like as an investment, even though it's gone parabolic, you're like, oh, maybe I'd hold it for 3 years, 5 years, even though it's parabolic.
That's what I say with Tilray. It's freaking tough.
Right?
I feel like, because being an analyst, like all the research you do, like, as Robin Foos, like you look at a chart and when you see how fast it's gone up, you're just like, there's no rationality. So I would
it's
invest
mania
when they pulled back, but the chart is too early to make over that.
Yeah, that's the thing. The problem is a lot of times you look at Bitcoin now, you see the mania move that Bitcoin went from whatever to 20K. And then you look at it as like, okay, maybe now this thing is pulling back. Maybe a good time to start getting in. But, how low is it going to go and how long are you going to sit and wait on that cash for it to do something again? What is Bitcoin still? I haven't looked. Maybe we should pull up a chart of Bitcoin.
6,000. Yeah, now if you look at a longer term chart, it's kind of consolidating down here a little bit. So the problem is like Tilray IPO'd July 19th. So and after like almost 2 months.
You only mode. Yeah. So, I mean, trying to pull up a chart of Bitcoin.
Oh, nice.
I want to see.
So, yeah, I mean, it sucks to see Tilray where it is now, but it was still a good trade. You did the right move, the right sell there. It looked a little weak. And then
this is just all euphoria. And
which I think is a lot of the case with what we do, where, we're generally early before the herd. And then sometimes we're in a play and the herd comes in big time after we're already out and we're like kicking ourselves. But at the same time, it's a smart thing.
Yeah.
It's the proper way to trade, right?
Oh, wow. Testing that.
It's still really just, it's kind of forming up this descending triangle here with support around the 5,900 to 6,000. But, Bitcoin, it was at freaking 4,000, I think, November of last year. This is when my ex-girlfriend was talking about buying it. I'm like, I was at 4,000. Like, you're crazy then. And then
right?
Next thing you know is at 20,000. So I'm not saying like you can't make money off this stuff. Know how high we're looking at Tilray now. It's at 100 or was just bouncing around 100. There's nothing that says it can't go to 200. But when you look at a parabolic move like this on Tilray, it's going to come crashing down. Your risk reward when the stock has made such a big move is very, very dangerous. You're playing with the fire. It's not like a safe place to put your money. Even though really, who knows what's going to happen? Maybe this goes to 200, just like we saw Dries. It was like $2 and it was like 20. We're like, oh, this is the top. This is crazy. It's the top. Right. Then it was at 30. Then it was at 40. Then it was at 50. Then it was at 60. I'm like, holy shit. And it's at 70. Then it's at 80. Then it's at 90. Then it's over 100. Then it was like peaked at like 120 or something. I don't remember, but it was like, shit can happen. People can make a lot of money, but there's also people. I remember some guy who was like an article. I forget where it was posted, but it was posted everywhere. He like was short, I think, Dries and maybe like $10,000-$20,000 worth, and then woke up the next morning and owed E-Trade like 180K or something.
Yeah.
And Tilray still hasn't gotten parabolic yet. I feel like.
Yeah.
A complete short annihilation event.
Yeah, they've been pretty slow. They haven't, like, you look at, I don't even know if CVM is a weed stock. I'm assuming it is because it's trending like a weed stock and like everything else. Is this a weed stock, Mike? Do you know?
I think IGC was the other one.
Yeah. I mean, they must have some sort of tie to weed. Otherwise, why would this be doing this right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Or just because it's a biotech and people are
I don't think that one is.
I think IGC and then CVSI was the other one. GC.
Rheumatitis, arthritis vaccine.
No.
I mean, people claim weed helps with arthritis.
Maybe they have weed in their pills.
That's all the association you need to get your fucking stock from 80 cents to $4 in 3 weeks.
I remember thinking that too, Fous, and then I remember I looked it up and I was like, it was just a biotech.
Yeah. So, and that's literally what can happen. Like, even if it's just can be based off of a fucking rumor or something in stocks. Manipulation in stocks is so much crazier nowadays than it was when I started in 2005. Almost everything is pushed by
people change their name to crypto, and all of a sudden the stock, from Long Island iced tea to friggin' whatever the name was, and the stock went up 500%.
Freaking Kodak was like going bankrupt, and they
I remember that. Yep.
Which that just came out. That was a whole fraud. Like, that was completely bullshit.
Like, I'll share the screen again just because it's so crazy. Like, they're going down the tubes, and then they mentioned something about creating a coin or something, and that was this right here. Like, they were just, the stock was in the shitter, and they released a PR that had something to do with crypto and went from $3 to
that was a crazy move.
$13.25 the next day. So it's just freaking bananas. Like, the amount of manipulation or just speculation that's going on, all just from a little PR mentioning something about crypto, which had nothing to do with them.
And for years,
Kodak.
that's been the most boring stock in the history.
Ever.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
that's Kodak. What are they going to do in crypto coins? Like,
but that day was a transfer of wealth. Insiders were dumping.
Look at it. It's just right back down to where it came from. So there's a lot of manipulation in stocks, and you can just see the kind of hysteria that can happen around sectors that are moving together based off of hype and hysteria, mania. It's not technically rational movements. Obviously, weed is big freaking industry that's coming into play as it becomes more and more legal. So I would say weed is a little bit more near term impactful than Bitcoin, because I don't think other than
it's kind of tangible.
Like
there's actual products.
Like Bitcoin, what are you going to do with a Bitcoin? Nothing other than use it as an investment tool. It's not like a thing. It's not like a currency. It's not something that you're going to go buy shit with, like, reasonably in a marketplace with it being so volatile. So I think weed is definitely more impactful near term. I would say I'd probably rather invest in weed stocks than Bitcoin stocks. But as far as any sort of investment advice, I'm sure a lot of people are like, "Oh, should we buy weed stocks? Should we short them? Like, what?
It's basically
do?"
All I've been getting is DMs about like.
That's my thing with Bitcoin. It's like, let's say you kill it. I don't know. You make a few $100,000 or more. What are you going to do? The first thing you're going to do is try to get cash with it from it. So it's still tied to the dollar, right? I mean, you still look at it as a price, as a value in US dollars. So if the end goal is to just get dollars anyway, what's the point? That makes sense.
It's just completely speculative.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
So it's a currency that, and people just want dollars anyway. So that's what I don't get.
I'm talking about weed. I mean,
Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's fucking hype. It's hysteria. Like, I don't know what's going on with crypto. I'm not going to sit here and say I know anything about it, because I don't. But what I do know is that it was mania. It was irrational buying that was overhyped, and now that's why everything is back down, and that's why all the Bitcoin fanboys have shut the fuck up, because they have nothing to talk about.
Well, just sit and wait.
Yeah,
Hold and hope.
When do these weed stocks do that?
Yeah.
These always go a lot farther than people think, just like everything else.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like Tilray, it's up at 100, but it's like there's no telling if it's going to go to 200 from here. I have no idea. I just know that is from my technical standpoint of day trading for 14 years is not something that I look at here and be like, I'm going to buy this for an investment. Maybe I'll long it on a day trade. But as far as my opinion goes, I'm not really long or short bias on the stock as of right now. It's looking at the chart just in the last 2-3 days. It's not something that I would like to short just based on the kind of erratic behavior. I still think there's a lot of uncertainty. I think, Mike, what do you say? October 17th is the day of reckoning for potential.
Yeah. I think that's your sell the news day where, everyone's awaiting the legalization. So all these Tilray and CGC are all Canada based. So, they say buy the rumor, sell the news. So,
yeah,
that's the day I'll be watching.
That's what a lot of people that don't know that maybe unless they've been trading for a while, they don't understand that price action is basically already has news priced in. So people are buying into the speculative rumor and potential announcement of it becoming legal. So a lot of people will be dumb. And if it does get legal, they'll buy it. Or maybe if it does get legal on that day, what you'll probably see is something like a gap open where there's that morning pop from the news and then a bunch of people selling into that. It's what you see in biotechs all the time is anytime you see FDA approval of a stock, the stock's in a gap open on that speculative news and then it completely sells off. And a lot of people buy at the open because they're dummies thinking, oh, the news is finally out, like time to buy. And almost every time the stock will gap down or gap open and then a huge selling pressure because people that were already holding the stock waiting for that news to come out. So it should be interesting to see what happens on the 17th. That was October.
Yeah, mark your calendars.
Mark your calendars, bros.
And with biotechs too, when you know there's a decision coming, the action can be, or at least coming soon. And maybe not in this case, we do know when it's coming. With FDA decisions, you generally have a slight idea of a window. But the action can be pretty unpredictable. So just be careful, guys. And that's one of my things, even for day trading. A lot of them, they don't really have the best intraday action to begin with. So I'm not super really interested anyway.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know my story at all, for how I got my intro to the stock market was my family. My great uncle died, gave us $500,000. There was this biotech company, some little stock tip, little bird, told my family it was a goodbye. and it was goodbye to all the money when the stock released a bad trial saying that this drug actually doesn't work. So when stock went from like $7.50 in a day. So it's a really bad investment strategy to try to buy into stocks pre-FDA approval. I mean, maybe if you got some sort of like inside little something, little bird, I don't know. That's what everybody thinks. And that's also legal. So you probably shouldn't do that anyways, because then you might end up in jail for
goodbye.
I do. There's some biotech guys out there that I do follow, and you really have to get into it. You got to understand science. You got to understand medical studies, and the whole process. You got to really, really get into it. Even then, it doesn't matter. You never know. The FDA can throw a curveball at you. All of a sudden, two trials can go well, then boom, something happens in that third trial that's negative. It's just.
Yeah. It's the risk reward. You either make it or break it. It's like, you can't put a lot of money into it. It's basically just gambling.
They're binary events.
Yeah.
A 50% gap up or 50% gap down.
You want to risk that? It's like, I don't know. Not really.
Some people do, right?
Yeah, they love it.
Those are the same people that are at the casino.
Yeah, those are the ones that don't last very long in the stock market. But I guess that's probably about a wrap, I would say, unless you guys got any closing things to say about the weed industry. Again, there's a lot of stuff moving. Understand parabolic moves, guys. There is always a point in time when those come crashing down. That's why we short so much more, because the probability is there. you know for a fact it's 100% probability there's going to be a panic sell-off at some point in time. When you're doing breakout stocks, you have no idea if that stock's going to break out. When it does break out, you have no idea how high it's going to go or go anywhere at all. But if you look at stocks that have gone parabolic, it's a fact that it's going to come crashing down. The difficult part is timing that and then managing the risk. So that's the tricky part. And that's what we teach you in the Fous4 90-day pro trading system, the Fous4 squad. But you guys got any closing arguments, closing things to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't try and understand the stock, guys. Understand the chart. If you don't understand the chart, come check us out, because that's really all it's about.
Yeah, everything begins and ends with the chart.
Chart life.
That's good. Yeah, it'll be interesting what happens here with the wheat stocks. I don't think this is the end of it, but I'd rather be watching than trying to guess right now.
Yeah, another little quote: "When the chart's talking, it pays to listen." Boom.
It's going to be a new too.
But it's 100% true. A lot of people get emotionally attached because they love smoking weed, or they think weed's the next big thing, next Bitcoin. And the chart's telling them like, yo, dude, we're done. We're taking a walk. And you just hold
that's
on.
With any stock. A lot of people ignore what they're looking at right in front of your face. We'll teach you all those things. With any of these charts, there's about 3 or 4 things that are saying, hey, stay away or get out, or so on and so forth. And people will just ignore that because of their beliefs and what they want to happen.
Boom. All right, guys, that is a wrap. If you guys want our daily watch list every day from me and Big Mike, we actually have 2 separate watch lists that we do every day. It's going to give you the top stocks that we're looking to buy or short every day, absolutely free. There's going to be a link below. I'd love to see you guys in there with us getting that watch list on a daily basis. Anyways, guys, that is a wrap for the Life of Day Trader podcast with the Fous4 trading team, Big Mike and Robert Millar. And of course, your host, Cameron Foos. Until next time.
See you.
Peace.